The Imola Grand Prix was set to be the scene of a mass upgrading of Formula 1 cars. The majority of teams had huge packages ready to go, but now the race has been cancelled. Many people thought the upgrades would be held back until the Spanish Grand Prix in a few weeks' time. After all, the unique track layout in Monaco makes it a pretty poor place to try out new parts. Mercedes have decided they can't wait though, and in Monaco they're going to completely overhaul their car. Today we'll fill you in on what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what else to expect at Monaco in a week's time. Let's get started. I want to start the video with some good news for anyone who was worried about the race in Monaco being affected by the flooding in Imola. Following concerns about the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari being flooded by the swollen Santerno River, authorities had barred anyone from F1 entering the circuit from Tuesday afternoon. Rising water levels and widespread flooding, triggered by extreme weather in the region, subsequently prompted the cancellation of this weekend's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, just days before track action was due to begin. But while the rising river did encroach lower-lying areas of the track, including the F2 paddock and F1's TV compound, the main pits and paddock escaped the worst of it. However, with F1 on a tight schedule to get out of Imola and get things built up for next weekend's Monaco Grand Prix, there was still some time pressure to get things moving, especially as some Italian roads remained closed so the journey times will likely increase. The rule to not enter the track was valid throughout Wednesday, but on Thursday morning, as the weather situation eased, it was agreed that staff that were essential to the de-rigging of team equipment could enter. This will allow any team garages, motorhomes and other facilities that had been put up earlier this week to get packed away, so then arrangements for the drive to Monaco can be sorted. With work now underway at Imola, F1 has no concerns that there will be any consequences from the race cancellation on next weekend's Monaco Grand Prix. Of course, if you watched our last video, you'll know that the weather in Italy isn't the only reason the race in Monaco may be cancelled, but you can check out that last video after this one if you want to know more. Right, let's get on to Monaco and the potential for any upgrades at the track. Imola's cancellation could have prompted a major rethink about Mercedes' plans, because the next race in Monaco is far from perfect for bringing major new parts. The street circuit poses a greater risk of accidents, which could wreck any new components early on, and the bumpy layout, low-speed corners and fast-changing track surface make it extremely difficult to gather valuable data on aerodynamic performance. But even though there would have been some logic for Mercedes to wait until the Spanish Grand Prix to introduce the upgrade, it has elected to push on with running the new parts as soon as possible. Why would Mercedes choose to bring upgrades to a track that normally is a poor choice for upgrading? Well, let me explain. The team remains convinced that the upgrades, which include new side pods, revised floor and a different front suspension, will deliver a tangible step forward in performance, so there is no reason to believe that there would be a benefit to delaying its introduction. On a track where qualifying is everything and often defines your finishing position, any performance you can gain is worth having. Also, the team is well aware that one of the factors that has held Lewis Hamilton and George Russell back this year is a lack of confidence in the car, especially under braking. This is an aspect of the car that is incredibly important at Monaco specifically. Late braking can make or, well, break a lap, and like I said, qualifying is everything. A mistimed braking zone at Monaco will end up with your car in the wall as well, so having confidence in your car stopping is even more important than normal. So with the changes to the suspension in particular aimed at improving this, it also made sense to commit to the changes at a venue where any gains could pay off a lot. Another factor is that it would actually be more work now for Mercedes to revert to its older specification car than the new one. The revised W14 had been transported to Imola and is being sent direct to Monaco. So if the team had elected to go back to the original package, it would have been a tough logistical challenge to back out of its original plan and revamp everything once again for the Monte Carlo weekend. This is a risk for Mercedes. Replacement parts take time to produce. If the changes don't perform how they expect them to, something that's happened a lot to Mercedes over the past year, then they may be in trouble. Some unexpected instability in the car could end with George or Lewis totaling their car in a wall. If Mercedes haven't had enough time to stock up on replacement parts for their new suspension or side pods, then they might have to mix and match old parts with new parts, something that would be awful for their performance. The front suspension will be particularly vulnerable in Monaco, where front-end shunts are very common, but I would expect Mercedes to have plenty of spare parts on hand. There is some good news for Mercedes' new spare parts though. They aren't going to be shaken around in quite the same way as they were last year. Not only is the porpoising of last year mostly gone now, the track surface has also been relaid. City workers began resurfacing half of the track in early March, including the Boulevard Albert First, where the starting grid and pits are located, the Louis II Tunnel, and the Dar Sud. The Automobile Club de Monaco has said that the operation will require a total of 15,000 square meters of asphalt, which is the equivalent of 1,800 tons of new asphalt. Monaco is one of the oldest and perhaps the most iconic circuits on the F1 calendar, having featured in the sport's first season back in 1950. But there are increasing concerns over its long-term future in the sport. With Formula 1 cars growing ever larger, overtaking at the tight street circuit has become extremely rare in comparison to other tracks. In the past decade, an average of 10 overtakes per race have taken place during the Monaco GP. When you compare this to the E-Prix that took place at the track recently, it's pretty shocking how bad the action is in Formula 1. The current Formula 1 cars are about 5.5 meters long, with a bit of variance between each car, and they're all 2 meters wide. A Formula E car is just 5 meters long and 1.7 meters wide. At Monaco this year, there were 116 overtakes in the E-Prix, but we'll be lucky to get a tenth of that during the Formula 1 Grand Prix. Obviously, there's more going on than just the size of the cars that make the E-Prix more action-packed, but the size of the cars is definitely a contributing factor. Given the challenges of a street circuit, there is little promoters can do to widen the track, but they have attempted to make changes elsewhere to meet the needs of modern Formula 1. In 2019, a new high-grip surface was installed at the chicane escape route, and in 2021, the circuit was fitted with a new pit lane. Monaco recently had its contract with Formula 1 renewed, taking it up until 2025. But with huge interest to be on the calendar, time will tell if that deal will be extended again. So will the changes to the track and to Mercedes' car make them a contender in the race? Or is this going to be Red Bull's race to lose again? Well, based on the season so far, the easy answer would be that Mercedes stand no chance, and no one can beat Red Bull, but I'm a little more hopeful than that. For a start, Ferrari have shown throughout the new regulations and this season that they are competitive with Red Bull over one lap. In last year's Monaco Grand Prix, the only reason they didn't win the race with ease was the poor decision-making of the Ferrari pit wall. No surprise there. This year though, I think it'll be another team challenging Red Bull in qualifying. Fernando Alonso has let it slip once in conversation already this year. "Just wait until Monaco," he said to the Red Bull drivers with a smile in a green room. Just how seriously he rates his chances there is difficult to know, but of all the tracks on the calendar, this is the one where the thus far dominant Red Bull might be exposed. On the evidence of GPS traces from qualifying at all the tracks this year, it's clear that the Aston Martin is comparably fast to the Red Bull through the corners, but that it's nowhere near as aero efficient, inducing a whole lot more drag than the Red Bull in creating its downforce. That's not such a problem around Monaco, with only the tunnel section really paying back on low drag. It's also very clear that the Red Bull's advantage is far greater on race day than in qualifying. So while we might not see much action on race day itself, if Fernando Alonso can put everything together in qualifying and secure himself a pole position on Saturday, then you will not want to miss the race on Sunday. Do you think Mercedes are making the right decision upgrading their car in Monaco? And can Fernando Alonso challenge the Red Bulls for a race win? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.